it means that person is likely to try it again.
So even psychologists cannot help them?
There's help, definitely. That's why we are saying that suicide is preventable. Yes.
But the fact that it's recurrent, it can appear, it can come back in someone's mind again and again. So what can be done really to prevent it from coming back to someone's mind? Because I think that may be the reason why we're losing so many people.
Thank you for asking that. So the same way we cannot be able to predict or prevent the number of issues that are going to happen or the stresses that are going to happen in your life, what usually happens is that maybe we as psychologists, the community, the families, we teach our clients on how they can be more mentally resilient and equip them with coping skills, as well as trying to help them deal with the initial underlying issues that they have, so that should they experience another stressor in future, then they are more likely to be in a better position to cope with that, as opposed to somebody who's never attempted to deal with any underlying issues that they had previously.
Now, you are the CEO of Angaza Psychotherapy and Consultancy. What really motivated your move into this particular field?
So Angaza specifically focuses on prevention programs, but although I am in treatment, that is where I work, my 8 to 5 job. So my quest in the prevention programs is to specifically target families and the youth, because I feel strongly that this conversation in regards to mental health actually need to start at the family level. The family is the basic unit of the community. That's where we need to start having those conversations. What are we doing? How do I know that my child or my sibling is going through something? How do I deal with them? How do I draw them out? What are the signs and symptoms that this person could actually be facing another underlying issues, and how do I cope with it? So trying to normalize the conversation and equipping people with enough knowledge at that level, I believe will translate to less admissions, in future. Yes.
Now, going by the World Health Organization report that most of the suicidal cases, those who are victims of suicide are men.
Right.
How do you explain that? Why are men forming the majority of those people committing suicide?
Well, first of all, let me say that anybody can be prone to suicide, having the suicidal ideations and dying by suicide itself. Actually, statistically, more women attempt suicide than men. However, more men actually are successful where death by suicide is concerned. And one of the reasons, maybe looking at both sides of the coin, is that women have a better support system. They talk about these things. They are more expressive emotionally. They are even allowed to cry and to wail and to do what we call dramatic and to talk about it. But then we are in a culture that specifically has posed the man to be this strong person. So if a man is going through an issue, even from from childhood, when they're a child, you're told you need to be a man. You need to be strong. Men do not cry. That's a sign of weakness. So then it means that they are in a space where they cannot be allowed to be as vulnerable as would like them to be. So this saturation of different issues, throughout their life, at some point, it gets to the brim. And if you had, for example, an underlying mental illness, or you were into substance abuse, or maybe somehow your personality predisposes you in terms of like mental resilience, then you're likely to do it. And men actually choose ways that are more lethal where attempting suicide is concerned.
And
so
then they never feel at it.
Yeah, exactly. So the chances of it failing are less.
Is there anything that can really be done to do away with this notion of men should not cry, men should not express themselves, men should not even look for help? Is there anything, as a psychologist, is there anything that really can be done to do away with that notion?
Well, absolutely. First of all, as a psychologist, when I'm looking at my patients or my clients, is to empower them that at the end of the day, you're a human being. You are going through something, whatever it is, and your feelings are valid, and you need to express them in a healthy manner, or look for a way of coping.
Yeah.
Also professionally, we are really trying to create a lot of awareness where mental health is concerned. In fact, we'll also be doing our work, at some point. I have seen people who are coming up with spaces specifically focused, on men to come and discuss about these issues. But it's also a challenge for us in our families, in our communities, to be able to allow the men to express themselves. Imagine if your husband comes to you and breaks down. They will be met with a shock, and then when you react like that, then that's also sending a message that, okay, when I enter this house, I'm the man.
So it's actually time to start embracing whatever mode they use to express themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Now, is there a particular age bracket that is mostly affected by suicide?
Yeah, statistically between 18 to 35, people are affected by suicide. Obviously, the young people, because they are going through their own physical changes, but as you grow older, you're met by many other stressors, because these are also the most productive years. These are also what we call like the hustling years. You're trying to do everything you can. You're in school. After school, there's the societal expectation on yourself to get a job, to be able to move out, to have a family. All the fasts normally happen between that age bracket, so they are like more prone. But not to say that somebody younger than 18 or older than 35 will not have suicidal ideations.
Those cases of those who
absolutely, absolutely. We also have like a significant bracket of people who are much older than in their 70s, who go into despair, and there are also deaths by suicide at that age bracket, but it is underreported as well. Yeah.
So you're having our side discussion. I asked you, what really motivated you to get into this particular field? Why psychology?
Well, first of all, it's a long story, but for today, since a young age, I found myself in a space where people would come to me for help, whether if they needed advice, that I was the to-go-to person. And I kind of grew up knowing that I'm a fixer. I can be able to fix any situation. And not that I was not going through my own personal issues, but then I learned how to suppress that to be able to help these people. And then that also eventually put me in a bad space, because I was not practicing any self-care. So I got into psychology not only to work on myself, but to be able to guide people professionally in the right way as they negotiate their own milestones in their own way.
Nice.
Yes.
And now let's go to one of the stories that we just aired, the Bungoma high school teacher committing suicide. Is this in any manner tied to education? Is there a way suicide? Maybe someone may look at the CBC, but most of them are love triangles. But let us now look at the education sector. Is there a way it's really tied to education?
Wow. Yes, now that you're putting me on the spot, thank you for that. So firstly, like I said, there's no one particular issue that predisposes somebody to suicide. It's more of many other underlying issues. But when you look at the education system as well, there is so much pressure, from the 844 system, and I'm glad that we're in a process where we are changing that. But I also remember there was a directive that had been given by the president that every school should have a consultant psychologist who is not a teacher. That puts the students in a position to be able to come to me and I'll go home. I won't be there teaching you another subject thinking.
So they won't shy away from sharing whatever.
Absolutely, they're not going to shy away. And by doing this, we are recognizing that every single person, by virtue of being a kid or a human being, you have issues, and then there's this person here who can be able to help you. But I can tell you, because I've visited different schools, that's not happening. Only a certain percentage of schools actually have private psychologists to help do that. But not only a private psychologist, I feel that issues to do with mental health should actually be part of the curriculum, really, like learning about the signs, the symptoms, learning about self-care, learning about healthy life skills and coping skills. These are things that need to be part of the system, so that as you grow older, you can know how to negotiate the things that you're coming across, you know, yes. And even the teachers should go through their own training. How can you be able to identify that your student is maybe in a bad space, or they're going through something, and then at that point, what do I do next? How do I talk to my students? Do I have a space as a teacher to deal with my own underlying issues so that I don't come and project it to somebody who has nothing to do, you know, with the issue? So some of those things are lacking. And in my opinion, why they're lacking is because there's a lot that the government, you know, needs to do to mitigate, you know, especially cases of where mental health is concerned, mental illnesses, and even the suicide prevention is concerned.
Thank you very much. And now, another question that is really of importance. Do you think we have lost our ability to solve our issues in our family, such that when something happens, someone resorts to suicide?
Well, that's a good question. Where family is concerned, I feel that it's not that we've lost the ability to actually be able to deal with our own issues, but we are in a space where there's a lot of individualism that happens today. You know, if you look at some years back, for example, the child or an individual belonged to the community. So if we were having an issue in this home,
so we share it.
You know, we can share, we can meet, people come together to actually solve a problem. You know, today is every man for himself. And every other person is busy trying to chase, you know, that paper, that you're not even present to be able to deal with some of the issues that are coming, you know, in the family system. So the people who grow up in that family system have to look for their own way to deal with these issues. Let's not forget that we are living in an age where you can literally YouTube anything.
Yes, true.
Right. So if you've been having these ideations and you don't even know what to do, you go online, you go to social media. If you go to social media, then you get a backlash. That makes it even worse. Or you go to social media and compare yourself, then that also makes it, you know, makes this situation worse. So what do I do? You start looking for other ways. And also, you know, where the media is concerned, reporting, like I think we need to stop reporting in regards to some of the ways that
reporting the cases.
No, not reporting the cases, reporting the means.
Okay.
Because if you say that this person actually died by suicide this way, and then there's somebody else who is watching who has maybe attempted,
they want to
and
try
it didn't work,
means
they'll be like,
that succeeded.
Okay. Right, yeah. So we try, even as we are trying to create mental awareness, to help empower people not to report the means and say this one is more effective than this.
Thank you. Yes. Now, as we wind up now, someone maybe watching right now is contemplating dying by suicide. Just speak to them using that camera. Just speak to someone about suicide. Whoever is now contemplating, you never know who is watching. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Lydia, for that. Thank you, Lydia, for that. So the number one thing that I would like to say 100% is that suicide is preventable. It's not the end of the world. And suicide itself as a means does not solve any problem. It actually makes it worse eventually for the people who you're going to live back, and even for you as an individual, the things that you are likely to do, the purpose that you were put on this earth for. And if you're there and you're in a space where you're feeling that you're hopeless, that you feel like giving up, I just want to tell you that there's help. There's help by talking about these things. There's help where practitioners are concerned. You know, you can come to us, you can talk to your friends. You can actually be able to get out of this and go ahead and be a productive member of the community.
Wow. Yes. Thank you very much. That is Gathoni Mbugua, clinical psychologist. That has been her time. And of course, you've gotten to know the hows and the whys of the matter, suicide. Well, we're taking a very short break here at KUTV News at 9.